How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Pokemon TCG Center. In today's video, I will show you my top 3 Mega decks for the standard format. So the first one I will actually talk about is a Mega Mewtwo. So the Mega Mewtwo, 210 HP Psychic Pokemon that evolves from the Mewtwo with the Psychic Infinity for the double colors energy. You can strike for 10. Plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. So the base damage with the Mega Mewtwo for the single double colorless energy is going to be 70 and 30 more for each energy attached on your opponent active Pokemon. So for example, if our opponent active Pokemon is Giratina-EX, we can strike for 120 plus 70, which is going to be 190. Of course, if that Giratina has 4 energy attached on it. So since Giratina can actually prevent damage from the Megas, Garbodor can help us a lot in this case. So the main attacker, of course, is a Mega Mewtwo. The support is Garbodor, and basically 3 Pokemons for the setup. 2 of them are going to be Shaymin and 1 Hoopa for the Scundering. It's all about being able to basically set that Mega Mewtwo with Psychic Infinity in play, accelerate as fast as you can with energies, be able to swap damage in crucial time with Scorch, with the Shrine of Memories in play, and with damage change from your Mega Mewtwo, and basically keep your opponent on the low amount of the energy, especially with Enhanced Hammers, and you're ready to go with this build. So basically, all you have to do is put turn 2 Mega Mewtwo in play, somehow find Enhanced Hammers if you play against decks like Dark Ray Giratina, Friday Night Yveltal, any other deck that use double colors energies, even in a mirror match, and you're gonna be fine. So as you can see, 4-3 line of the Mewtwo is just because we really want to start with the Mewtwo EX in the active position instead of just the Trubbish or even versed Hoopa. So 2-2 line of the Garbodor is must have, because if you run only one, and if one of these 2 Pokemons are priced, we're not going to be able to have a Garbodor Garbotoxin in play, so this can bring us in a very bad disadvantage. 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer can help us a lot to basically prevent that Giratina from being able to strike us with the Chaos Wheel, so we can have extra turn to set up our Garbodor, basically to prevent and keep those Friday Night Yveltals able to spread the damage around the board, but also basically to keep any other deck with the special energies without them in play, as long as we can discard them with Enhanced Hammers. 3 copies of Mega Turbos can actually give us significantly boost being able to power up our Mega Mewtwo with up to 3 more energies, basic energies from our discard pile, 3 Trainers Mails, so we can have the top 4 cards revealed and pick any trainer or expect for the Trainers Mail in our hand. In addition to that, of course, I'm running 4 copies of Ultra Balls, 4 V Seekers, and from supporter cards, I decide to go with 2 Lysandres in this build, because sometimes with the Mega Mewtwo around with Shrine of Memories and a lot of damage counters on it, we can just easily take advantage Lysandering opponent's Shaymin and basically use damage change to remove all damage counters from our active Mega Mewtwo on our opponent, basically Shaymin, and take 2 prize cards in exchange for 0 damage on our Mega Mewtwo, which is just great. On the other side, 2 copies of End is also very good, just because we really want to put our opponent in a bad position, especially when he have a few prize cards left. We can take a good advantage, adding him down to maybe 2 or 3 cards. Pokemon Ranger is a good card, especially against any other Pokemon like Giratina-EX, who can actually use that Chaos Wheel, so it can actually prevent us from being able to attach those double colors energies. We don't need to worry too much about Giratina ability, because we have Garbodor. As long as we can have Garbodor before Giratina Chaos Wheel, we are going to be fine. But if our opponent Giratina managed to Lysandre or knock out our Garbodor, then we can actually be in a pretty bad position after that. But yeah, pretty much we can always go around somehow trying to disable it with Enhanced Hammer, so that's the reason why actually Enhanced Hammers can be good. For Sycamore's one Parallel City, it can be good against the Mega Rayquaza deck. It can be good against deck like Mega Gardevoir, because Mega Gardevoir is a very strong deck, but Mega Gardevoir can one-hit knock a Mewtwo on the other way, so it's just not that important against it, but it's also good just because it can help us to remove Shaymins and Hoopa. 2 copies of Random Memories, of course, so we can have the damage swap, 3 Float Stones for those Garbodors and Hoopas, just in case we stuck with them, 4 copies of Spirit Links and 11 energies in total. 4 of them are going to be double course energies and 7 are going to be just a regular psychic energies. So moving on to a second deck, which is going to be my Mega Gardevoir build. So for the second build, I decided to go with the Mega Gardevoir. I think this is also a top 3 Mega deck, featuring, of course, the last one, Mega Scizor, just because Mega Gardevoir can actually smash that Mega Mewtwo deck without any problem, because it's a dual type, it's a Fairy and Psychic type, so basically with the Desperate Ray we can go for 110 or 220 against Psychic Pokemons with just 2 energy cards in play, and also we can increase that damage by discarding any other Magic Pokemon from play we really like, so it's very broken. In addition to that, 10 damage counter more will this Desperate Ray does for each Pokemon we discard in that way. So what that means that we can actually set up 8 Pokemons on the bench with the Skyfield and go for 190 or 210 with Giovanni Scheme, so that can bring us in very, very good position, because with 210 we can even knock out some other Pokemons like for example Giratina with Fighting Fury Belt. We can't one-hit knock out Darkrai because he have also resistance, but for example, Yveltal EX can be one-hit knock it out with the Fighting Fury Belt. Shames, of course, can be one-hit knock it out, but yeah, pretty much every EX with 210 HP or up to that amount can be one-hit knock it out. So 16 Pokemons in this build, of course, for tree line of the Gardevoir, the same thing will apply. Because we really want to start with the Gardevoir and turn 2 be able to Mega Evolve into Mega Gardevoir and start to apply pressure to our opponent. On the other side, I decided to go with 2 Dragonite EX for the pull-up. So it's a very good card, especially when you play it from your hand. You can pretty much grab 2 basic Pokemons and put them into your hand from your discard pile. So it can be any kind of the Pokemon we really need in that case. It can be Hoopa for extra countering, it can be Shaymin-EX, it can be Rattata. So it can be very, very devastating for our opponent. I decided to go with 1 copy of Rattata and 1 copy of Eradicate, just because Rattata is a good card. I mean, every time we put Rattata on the bench, we can just discard active Pokemon tool. So it can be good against any Pokemon that actually have Fighting Fury Belt. We can easily get rid of it. In my opinion, that's just crazy. But on the other side, even for the late game surprise from nowhere, we can just put Eradicate and Shadow Bite for maybe 240, maybe even more, depending on how many double colors or double Dragon Energies our opponent have in his discard pile. So from the nowhere, we can actually surprise with just a single energy and the Shadow Bite. So I really like that effect of the attack. Of course, 3 Shaymin-EX for the setup, 4 tree line of the Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir, and 2 Hoopas for that Scundering. In addition to that, you will probably need a lot of other cards, so running some copies of Escape Rope will help you a lot. Basically, with Escape Rope, you can easily get rid of your Hoopa in the active spot, but you can also force your opponent to do the same to remove his active Pokemon with another one. I find myself running actually 2 Escape Ropes in my Darkrai Giratina deck. Works pretty good against those finite Yveltals, because I just don't need to waste my turn on Olympia, and I can actually get rid of my opponent finite Yveltal from the active spot, so I can still have my tools working, for example, like a Fighting Fury Belt or a Float Stone, so I can actually for a retreat again back onto my Pokemon that I need to use. 2 copies of Mega Turbos, as in my original build with this deck. I decided to go with 2 Mega Turbos because 1 is not that good, 3 or 4 is just too much, because we don't need more than 2. Simply, we can just strike with 1 energy and 1 Mega Turbo for 110 plus. So running more than 2, I think, is just going to be too much. 3 Trainers Mails, 4 copies of Ultra Balls, 4 copies of V-Seekers, and then from supporter cards I decided to add 1 Brock's Great in addition, because it can actually help me to shuffle 6 back Pokemons in my deck. And basically with the Brock's Grid, I can always have enough Pokemons in my deck for that Skunthering and for extra crazy damage with my Mega Gardevoir. A single Delinquent can also work and do a pretty decent job, same as Giovanni's Scheme for that extra 20 damage, which can be actually crucial in some situations. 1 copy of Hexmaniac, 2 Lysandres, and 2 Ends in addition to that. Featuring 1 copy of Olympia, of course. It's a very good card, especially if we cannot retreat. For example, if our opponent from nowhere surprises with the Lysandre on Pokemon without energies, we can always get rid from that Pokemon in active spot with Olympia. Of course, Ranger is always good to have in your deck, especially against any other Pokemon, for example, like a Regice. But in that case, Resistance Blizzard is not going to be the big problem, because we can actually knock out Regice with Eradicate, for example, and surprise our opponent from nowhere. That's the thing that I was talking at the beginning of the deck review. Of course, 4 Sycamores and 3 Skyfields, so we can actually have as many Pokemon as we can have in play with the Skyfield, and of course 4 copies of Gardevoir Spirit Links and 8 Fairy Energies. As I mentioned it once again about that Pokemon Ranger, it's pretty much here just because I'm afraid about those annoying Resistance Blizzards and maybe even Crystal Rays, but any other attack, it's not going to be a big problem. But for example, in the Mega Scizor build, I just didn't decide to add Pokemon Ranger just because I think it's unnecessary to have. Why? Because Resistance Blizzard probably not going to happen. We have 5 hammers and 1 Team Flare Grunt, so we can easily disable our opponent. Either way, Regice or that annoying Glaceon-EX. Glaceon-EX can only prevent damage counters, it cannot prevent energy disruption, but of course in some combination of the mana feed that can work, and in that case maybe Ranger would make a lot of sense, but on the other way I think it's just unnecessary to run in this build with the Garbodor and so many hammers around. So for the Mega Scizor build, of course, a 4-3 line with the Mega Scizor, 1 Hoopa, 2-2 line with the Trubbish Garbodor, of course, with 2 Shaymin-EX. Of course, 4 Scizors makes a lot of sense because we really want to start again with a Scizor in the active position, and third to have Mega Scizor for 120 and Iron Crusher, and we can also discard a Stadium or active Pokemon special energy attached to our opponent active Pokemon. In addition to that, 5 hammers, so 4 crushing hammers on a flip a coin, of course, and 50-50 chance to hit heads and discard any energy from our opponent Pokemon in play, and 1 enhanced hammer, of course, which can guarantee us to discard any special energy from our opponent Pokemon in play. On the other side, I'm running 2 copies of Mega Turbo because, again, same as the Mega Gardevoir, 2 copies of Mega Turbo makes a lot of sense because our Mega Scizor just require 2 energies to attack. 1 copy of Super Rod is a good card because it can actually help us to recycle those energies and Scizors back in the deck in case we need it. 3 Trainers Mails, 4 Ultra Balls, and 4 V-Seekers. In addition to that, 2 copies of Lysandre. Actually, Lysandre can be substituted down to the 1, and in addition to that, we can actually add something like a Max Potion, because Max Potion can also be very good tech, or for example, second Enhanced Hammer, because having option with 2 Lysandres can also be good because we really want to be able to snipe our opponent Pokemons with the Iron Crusher who actually have those double Colress energies or double Dragon energies or any kind of special energies attached, so we can actually discard them. For example, a good example can be Frynite Yveltal. It might be devastating for your opponent Frynite Yveltal not be able to set up if we can just easily Crushing Hammer regular Darkness energy and then just Iron Crusher for that basic for that double course energy. But also, for example, a Giovanni scheme might be a good tech instead of the second Lysandre, because with Mega Scizor Iron Crusher for 120, we're not going to be able to one-hit knock out, for example, Friday Night Evil Tal, but with Giovanni scheme, that's not going to be a problem, because in that case we could go for 200, for 140, which will be enough for the one-hit knockout. And in my opinion, that can make a lot of sense. Of course, 2 copies of N and 1 Olympia is a very good card again. It can help us a lot to retreat, and I really love the option of Olympia in pretty much every deck these days. 4 copies of Sycamore, and of course 1 copy of Team Flare Grunt. So basically, Team Flare Grunt option is there to discard a energy attached to opponent active Pokemon. So now, even Giratina is not a big problem anymore, because with the Flare Grunt and Enhanced Hammer, we can easily discard both Double Dragon energies attached to Giratina. Turn after that, or actually the same turn, we can even hit for 120 our opponent Giratina. Because we have Garbodor, for example, but if we don't have Garbodor, Enhanced Hammer combo with Team Flare Grunt can actually help us a lot to be able to set up maybe Garbodor with the Float Stone in play and be able to shut up that Giratina problem. But yeah, pretty much also Enhanced Hammer and Team Flare Grunt combo can help against any other combination of a Pokemon attacker that actually require 2 energies for the attack. So in addition to that, 2 copies of Parallel City, so I can limit my opponent bench space or actually cut my Shaymins and Hoopas from play. 3 copies of Float Stone, and 4 copies of Spirit Link with 8 metal energies. The reason why I didn't include Pokemon Ranger in this build is just the advantage of those hammers and the Team Flare Grunts, but if you don't feel comfortable, you can always remove 1 copy of Lysandre in addition to Pokemon Ranger, so you don't have to worry about those Glaceons. But on the other side, Glaceon actually have weakness on the metal, same as the Regice, so it's not going to be that big problem in my opinion. For Giratina, we don't need Pokemon Ranger, so if we can just keep our opponent Regice and Glaceon without energies, we can easily Lysandre them and one-hit knock them out with Iron Crusher without actually any problems. But of course, these days, carving with Energy Keeper can be good actually attacking pretty much every deck, because it can help a lot to prevent those energy disruption, same as for example that metal Majournia. But yeah, pretty much against Garbodor, none of these 2 Pokemon will have a nice day. So I hope you guys enjoy watching those top 3 decks, top 3 mega decks that I actually built. If you have any questions, as usual, you can leave a comment below. So yeah, pretty much have a nice day as usual, and see you in the next video. So goodbye.